the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network presents Vatican Insider with Joan Lewis. Each week, Joan brings you news from inside the Vatican and the Church around the world, as well as interviews and answers to your questions. Now, here's the host of Vatican Insider, Joan Lewis.
Well, I want to welcome my listeners to another edition of Vatican Insider, and I think you're going to find this one pretty interesting. In some ways, it's going to be kind of an off-the-cuff conversation with a very new friend and his wife who are in town in Rome, and how we met was something you might even imagine. First of all, I will mention their names. I'll be talking with Deacon Andy Orosco and his wife, Roseanne. So welcome to both of you to Vatican Insider.
Thank you very much, Joan. It's a pleasure being here with you, and I am very excited. This is off the cuff.
And it's going to be a great story. And Roseanne, welcome as well.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Well, here's how we met. Anybody who knows me, follows my work, knows that one of my favorite places to have dinner is La Vittoria, a restaurant near my house. In fact, half of the listeners may at some time or another have been there and our paths crossed. And that's exactly what happened 2 nights ago. They recognized me. I was sitting waiting for a guest to arrive and recognized me, came over to the table. We had a fascinating conversation. As I went home and reflected on everything they told me, I knew I had to interview Deacon Andy. You see, first of all, they've had several weeks in Europe. They went to World Youth Day in Lisbon, now in Rome. They are leaving tomorrow morning. But the most interesting thing is Deacon Andy is very active in the San Bernardino diocese in the Native American ministry. And you're going to hear him tell his story in a minute and find out that it's the only diocese in California that has this special ministry. Now, Andy, the wonderful part about your story, and you're going to tell me that right away, is that you have Spanish roots and you have Native American roots yourself. So tell us that story.
Yes, correct, Joan. I am a Native American. I am Kumeyaay on my grandfather's side, which is basically San Diego, the county of San Diego. And on my grandmother's side, I am Tongva in the Los Angeles County area. They married each other, and that's what we do is we intermarry. And that's on my father's side. On my mother's side, I am Spanish. My mom has Spanish heritage, and there's a funny story with that. When my mom was going out with my father, my aunt went to my mom and said, "Why are you going out with this Indian?" And my mom says, "He's not Indian." And she says, "Yes, he is. You better check." And she checked. She confronted my father and she says, "Are you Indian?" And my dad looked at her and he said, "Does it matter?" And my mom just kind of thought for a second and said, "Well, I guess you're my Indian."
Oh.
So with that, they were married a lot of years, had my 3 brothers, and we grew up not on the reservation, because on the reservation, it's a tough life. And my father did not want that for us. He wanted us to live off the reservation. He wanted us to get our education. He wanted us to work within the system, have good jobs, so that we can eventually bring back what we have learned to the res. And that's what we have done, myself and my brothers.
And I read recently, I read last night, a reflection that you wrote on your background. I find it very touching, and how you would go often to the reservation to visit relatives, and you saw how they lived in many cases, and it was very different from how you lived.
It was very different in that, as I say before, it is a difficult life on the reservation. When we build on the plots of land that are assigned to us, we build homes of very simple means because we don't own the property itself. That is held in trust to us. Well, the only equity that people have is their land to be able to borrow from it to be able to build their houses. Well, that's not the opportunities that we have on the reservation. So when we went to go visit our cousins, we can see the homes that they lived on. We lived in a tract home that was that were pretty nice. They were very nice. But when we went to the res and visited our cousins, you could see what it was like, how difficult it was, just because they had to build as a funds to build. It was a life that was challenging also, because when we left the res, our cousins would say, "Oh, you're not native. You left the res. You're no longer a part of us." And then living off the res, they'd find out we were native, and they would say, "Oh, you're Indian," and just kind of shun us. So we were caught in the middle.
Wow.
But that's what we lived with. That was fine. It didn't bother any of us.
Now, did children go to school? Those who lived on the reservation, was school on the reservation, or did they go to public schools outside?
For the most part, they lived on public. They went to public schools. There are some reservations that do have native schools, more so now than then. But during that time, it was public schools.
Andy, where are most Native Americans living today? We're going to talk more in depth about California in a minute, but I'm learning literally as we speak, listening to you. So are the majority of Native Americans on the two coasts? Enlighten all of us on where we can find. There are many tribes, many different tribes.
Well, there are many tribes throughout the nation, throughout the United States, and there are tribes in every state. There are. That is one of the things I like to bring awareness of, is that we are still here, we are still prospering, and we are still providing opportunity to be able to meet us and to bring in awareness that we are still here. So yes, we are throughout the United States. Knights of Columbus has a wonderful video called Enduring Faith that speaks about the tribes throughout the United States. It's Catholic based, but it describes the tribes throughout the United States.
Well, after our conversation, I became aware of the Knights of Columbus movie. So what I want to do, actually, having gone on the internet to look at at your background and also the story of the Knights of Columbus movie, here's what the website said when that document came out. And this will be so interesting for my listeners. It's impossible to fully understand what it means to be a Catholic in North America without a sincere appreciation for the Catholic tradition among so many native tribes. And again, that's the KFC website. Few people realize that indigenous communities throughout the continent were sincerely practicing their faith centuries before the founding of the United States. And this is a missing piece to the greater story of Catholicism in America. And that must be a focus of your ministry in the diocese.
It is. I bring awareness not only to our native people, but to all people in the United States, that we are the first neophytes of the United States. We are the first ones that the priests, the brown robes or the black robes, Jesuits and the Franciscans, they were the first ones that came to us, and we were the ones that built their missions. We are the ones that built their churches, and we are the ones that were first baptized centuries before the founding of the United States.
What's so interesting as I'm listening to you, it sounds like what many Native Americans need to do is a little more publicity, some more public relations. I know you and your work, and you're the only Native American deacon in the Catholic priest in California or in all of America?
No, not in America. There are a lot of ordained priests and deacons who serve the Native American community throughout the United States. Right. I am within California, as far as I know, and I've done a lot of research, but I am the only local clergy, California-born clergy that's ordained in and serving in California.
And now, exactly, you're invited to speak so often in other parishes. Do you speak outside of California as well as throughout the state and the dioceses there?
Yes, I do. I am invited to speak about the Native American cause. In fact, I was invited by the Knights of Columbus to join in on a talk that they sponsored to bring up the Native American issues within the United States, and there was. I think there were 16 of us from throughout the country, including Alaska, Florida, throughout the United States, that gathered to talk to the bishops about what some of the causes, some of the issues that were at hand. At that time, I spoke about the Junipero Serra because it was a big issue, and it still is a big issue. And I also spoke on the boarding schools, and also spoke on what Native American people. We are a spiritual people, and spirituality is different than being religious. Spirituality means that we have a connectedness. We see a connectedness to all things. We're connected to the Mother Earth because she provides for us, for the sky, for the oceans, for the waters, because they provide the swimming animals for us, the birds of the air, the mammals, because they all, we're all connected. We need each other. So when Junipero Serra came on up from Mexico to found the churches or the missions coming on up from Mexico, what happened is he started replacing our spiritual leaders with priests. And what that caused was the spiritual leaders were a part of who the people are, and they became pretty upset because all of a sudden they were being replaced by the black robes, brown robes, and then all of a sudden they would change them. Well,
so trying to suffocate a Native American culture with another culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do. And they were trying to show us how to do things that we've been doing for 10,000 years. How to farm the European way, how to do all the different things the European way. But again, we've been here, for 10,000 years, and we knew our land, we knew our oceans, we knew how to do all those things, we knew our medicines.
Are Catholic bishops doing enough? Because most of them, I'm going to guess, in their diocese would not have a large number of Native Americans. If they do have Native Americans, it would be a smaller percentage of a parish, of a diocese.
Well, thanks to people like Father Henry Sands, who is a director for the Black and Indian Mission Coalition. He brings awareness to the bishops. He is a native himself from Michigan, and a wonderful man that that has really fought for the cause. Him and Father Michael Carson, who is also native, and at a national level, he is he's the spearhead of bringing the information or the awareness to the bishops for the Native American people.
What about on the level of the U.S. government? Do we have, we do have, but I think, but I don't remember the name. There is some kind of an office for Native Affairs, right?
The Department of the Interior. They are the ones that are responsible for the Indian reservations. And it was just recently where a Native American, I cannot remember her name at this moment, was assigned to be the director of the Department of the Interior. I work not for the Department of the Interior, but I work for Morongo Band of Mission Indians as their land surveyor professionally. And I work hand in hand with the Department of the Interior regarding Indian lands.
Now, when you go around and talk, Deacon Andy, is your audience generally, they're being informed for the first time about the history of Native Americans, about their relationship to the faith, about so many issues that they even have, life issues today? Are most people, do they come to these because they truly want to learn, they don't know anything about Native American ministry?
For the most part, yes. They know that there were Native Americans at one time, and they think that we are extinct, that we no longer exist. Yeah. And when I come up to them and I bring the awareness, I tell my story, I tell the story of my people, their eyes open and they just
Exactly.
They're really surprised. They really are. And then when I start speaking about other Native peoples, or when I'm touring with other Native peoples, they really, their eyes are awakened. They really are.
Welcome to the Q&A. I've been asked several times by fellow parishioners in Rome why the liturgical season of Ordinary Time is called Ordinary. There are 2 periods in the Roman calendar called Ordinary Time. The first runs basically between the January 6th Feast of the Epiphany and the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, inclusive. The second period begins Monday after Pentecost and ends before evening prayer of the first Sunday of Advent. The time is called Ordinary mainly because it's just that, ordinary, and not part of any special liturgical season, such as Easter. Of course, many feast days and solemnities occur in Ordinary Time. The Most Holy Trinity, the Most Holy Body and Blood of Christ, the Nativity of John the Baptist, the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, Saints Peter and Paul, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, All Saints and All Souls, just a few examples. Weekdays during Ordinary Time, when there are no solemnities, feasts, or memorials of saints, are called ferial days, F-E-R-I-A-L. The liturgical color of Ordinary Time is green, symbolizing life and hope.
Proclaiming the faith, changing lives.
The year was 2005. EWTN embraces new technology to carry out its mission of evangelization by making its live programs and classic broadcasts available for podcast online in MP3 format at no charge.
To learn more about Mother Angelica's life and the history of EWTN, visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica.
Mother Angelica had a simple goal when she began EWTN: to reach the world with the gospel message. EWTN radio services transmit 24/7 on over 500 domestic and international AM and FM radio affiliates, satellite radio, and web streaming. We've never wavered from our mandate to proclaim the truth and majesty of the Catholic faith. Thank you for joining EWTN in this mission.
There's all kinds of prayers. There's all kinds of ways of praying. There's all kinds of methods of praying. There's a Salesian method, and Francis de Sales, and Ignatius of Loyola. There's Franciscan methods and Dominican methods, and you name it, we got it. But sometimes we depend on a method too much. St. Teresa said that prayer was conversation with God. Do you have a hard time conversing with people? No, I don't have a hard time. Well, that's how it is with God.
Welcome back to Vatican Insider. Here's Joan Lewis.
Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Deacon Andy Orosco of the Diocese of San Bernardino in California, a Native American who works in that ministry in the diocese. Well, when we first met, I learned that at La Victoria, I learned that you had been at World Youth Day. And did you bring any young people, any young natives to the World Youth Day?
No, I did not. I've been trying for a long time to get the Native youth really involved in the bigger church. They're involved with the local parish, the mission churches, and you have to realize I serve at 6 mission churches. There's 13 reservations in the Diocese of San Bernardino. 6 of them have mission churches, and the largest one seats 60 people.
Wow!
The smallest one is about 30 people. So we're talking about small communities. There's a lot of kids on them, a lot of youth, but they do not want to leave the reservation. That is their home. They just do not want to leave. So little by little, I am asking them to trust me so I can take them out and show them the bigger church, the bigger world with their elders and whoever else would like to join in on them.
Well, thinking about it, I didn't go to Lisbon, but I've been to a number of World Youth Days. Oh, I went to the one in '93 in Denver, Colorado. That's a whole nother radio show. In any event, just with what you've said so far, it seems that I'm trying to imagine the young people who live on the reservation being overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of people, if they're not familiar with those numbers. 300,000, 500,000 people attending events, in addition to which all the cultures that they would meet. It would be a very overwhelming experience for a young person, wouldn't it?
It is a very overwhelming experience. I have taken youth to Religious Edge Congress in Los Angeles, where there's typically 15,000 youth there, and they just cling to a wall. It is just very overwhelming for them. And the same, I took some youth to NCYC in Long Beach this last year, together with my granddaughter who is 16, Eliana. Got to put a shout out to her, Eliana, Chanel and Aubrey. But took Eliana, and we, at the last moment, we were asked to participate in a native blessing, and I really congratulate Alana and Tiana from Kauai, my granddaughter, who stepped up and said yes, they would do it, and they participated in this, and it's completely out of character of who they are. They just
wow.
They really stepped up, and it was beautiful, and the kids. All those who were pilgriming there from NCYC really enjoyed it, and it was a wonderful event.
Well, and they would have something new as far as reservation life is concerned. They would have something new to tell their children and grandchildren. So eventually, perhaps, more doors would open. Now, when you arrived in my home this morning, the first thing, I knew you had gone to the general audience. And you said, "What a morning! What a catechesis!" I can't believe what you're about to tell my listeners was the Pope's focus this morning.
The Holy Spirit is really at work. We came here not knowing what the catechesis was going to be like, and when when
it's been on apostolic zeal and persons who live it, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And when Pope Francis uttered the words "Kateri Tikawitha," Roseanne and I just looked at each other.
That had to be so moving.
It was. Oh. It was very moving. I speak on Kateri Tikawitha. I speak on her deep faith, and I really try to bring this awareness to others and our native community that there is a person that really loved God, really loved Jesus, really loved her faith, and was willing to risk her life for that.
Yes.
In a culture that was not accepting of of what her faith was. It meant death. It did, and she had to leave her village because of that. But it's a wonderful story. She died at 24. And it's just a beautiful story. And I wish everybody would have the opportunity to really take the time to find out more about this beautiful saint.
Oh, if only the Holy Father had known that in his midst today there was this deacon from the diocese of San Bernardino, who, by the way, Holy Father, has a Native American history. So he would have loved that. And speaking of the Holy Father, before we close, he's had a great awareness of the issues. I think all of our listeners remember his trip to Canada because of the issues there over the years and the terrible things that were happening to Native children who were pulled away from their families, from their homes, from their towns, reservations, whatever, and forced to live, literally have a new culture forced on them. So you must have been very touched by the fact that the Holy Father made that trip and acknowledged all the sins against the natives.
Pope Francis has acknowledged a lot, together with a lot of the bishops. There's been a lot of apologies, a lot of sincere regrets about what has happened, what had happened in the history of Native Americans. But God uses all that is difficult in life to bring good in life, and I truly believe that, and there's a reason for this, so that is what I speak on, the opportunity that God has for us. All we need to do is live with our hands open to receive the gifts that He gives us.
Exactly. We all know, I think, from the first day of his papacy that Pope Francis has focused on the peripheries, on the marginalized, on those who suffer because they're not recognized by society. They're different from us. In fact, his monthly prayer intention for the month of September is for people living on the margins. So he's trying to bring an awareness to all categories of God's children who might be on the margins. So, Deacon Andy, I've so enjoyed our meeting the other night, and we haven't spoken as much to Roseanne today, but that'll be for another day. But before we close, any final words you might want to say to our listeners about what they could do even to learn more about not just you and your ministry, but about Native American Catholics?
Well, one, as I said before, Enduring Faith by the Knights of Columbus. Take a look at that video. It's a wonderful video that tells our story about our faith, our us being the first neophytes. Also, the video on Junipero Serra, the video on Kateri Tekakwitha, and also, as I said before, we are among you. We are your neighbors. We are we are the first neophytes of this wonderful country, of the United States, and we're going to be here another 10,000 years until God calls us all home. And thank you very much, Joan. This was a wonderful interview, and it was such a pleasure to meet you and to be here with you face to face.
Well, all I could say when I came home the other night after our serendipitous meeting at dinner, I knew God had planned it. So, and it was merely the fact that my guest didn't show up because his plane never brought him to Italy. So, in his stead, are Roseanne and Andy Orosco. God bless you in your ministry. God bless you in your travels. And as my mom used to sign her emails, God sit on your shoulder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on these stories or to check out Joan's blog and to ask her a question, go to EWTN.com. That's EWTN.com. Thanks for listening to Vatican Insider on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.